what the sample is. 44% approve of Trump's job performance. 53% say they'd rather see Democrats than Republicans. Those numbers are still... Mic check 1, 2, 3. Hello, good evening, everybody. I'm Janine Stanwood, and welcome to our digital coverage of the midterm elections. We're going to be watching the results as they come in. We'll be checking in with the candidates.
Can't get in.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Janine Stanwood.
John, we can't get in.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Janine. Good evening, everybody. I'm Janine Stanwood, and welcome to our digital coverage of the one channel only of audio. I don't know what that. Hi, everybody. I'm Janine Stanwood, and welcome to our digital coverage of the midterm elections. We're going to be here all night long, watching results as they come in, checking in with the candidates. A lot is at stake. We have race for governor, race for U.S. Senate, and a whole bunch of ballot questions. Joining me once again is a pretty great team of legal eagles. Marlon Hill, accomplished attorney, partner with Hamilton, Miller, and Berthasell, specializing in corporate and intellectual property law. Thanks for being here. And to his right, Ed Pozzoli. Wool. Ed Pozzoli, accomplished attorney, CEO of Trip Stop, member of the Bush Cheney legal team during the 2000. Hi. Hey, Jeff, what's your extension? 2887. Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Marlon Hill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great.
Look over here, guys. All right, tweet this out. Mic check again. Hi, everybody. Good evening, and I'm Janine Stanwood. Welcome to our digital coverage.
Yeah, come. Take a shot.
I do. Thank you. Thank you.
One for me. I'm going to put it on Twitter.
3:10 away. Thank you.
Janine, look up. Janine, 1, 2, 3.
6. What does it say that again? 6:59:45. 6:59:45 is when Elsa says we're going to go on. Oh, were you taking a picture?
Get onto the local
Oh.
No.
Wait, Janine can't hear you. You need to hear her?
What? Who can't hear me?
Okay, 2:30. You got it. 2:30.
Hi.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Diaco. D.
Minute 30.
1:30. We're going to be all night long watching. A lot of
Janine, I'm going to start tight and then pull up.
Yep. Good evening, everybody. I'm Janine Stanwood. Welcome to our digital coverage of the midterm elections. We're going to be here all night long, following the races, following the candidates, and watching results as they come in. A lot is at stake. We've got the race for governor, race for U.S. Senate, and a whole lot of ballot.
1 minute.
1 minute. Okay.
Okay, I'm putting you guys up even though you're technically not on.
I'm looking at you. All right.
3, 2.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Janine Stanwood, and welcome to our digital coverage of the midterm elections 2018. We're going to be here all night long looking at the results, watching the candidates, checking in with reporters spread all across the field. We want to talk about the race for governor, race for U.S. Senate. So much is at stake in these elections. Also, constitutional amendment questions that people have been grappling with here in the state of Florida. And I'm happy to say that we have our very accomplished panel with us once again. It's kind of like we've got the band back together. I'm pretty excited about this. Marlon Hill, accomplished attorney, partner with Hamilton, Miller, and Berthasell, specializing in corporate and intellectual property law. And of course, you've been doing a lot of political analyzing yourself.
Absolutely.
So we're super happy to have you.
Super happy to be here.
Ed Pozwali, CEO of Tripp Scott, member of the Bush-Cheney legal team during the 2000 recount. So happy to have both of you here. It has been record turnout for early voting, and it looks like, at least as far as we can tell from Broward and Miami-Dade County, a lot of people are coming to the polls today. Why is that, Ed?
I definitely want to know what water are you drinking, Ed? What kind of water are we drinking? I think that the environment, the political environment, this midterm election, and lots of high stakes. I do believe that President Trump is in the middle of the ballot. I do believe that the balance of power in terms of having checks and balances between Congress and the Oval Office is at stake. And even here in the state of Florida, the governor's office and the legislature, that's at stake as well. Lots on the ballot. Folks are walking around with their I voted stickers. Everyone is excited. 2014, the turnout was 50%. I do believe that we're going to break some records tonight.
And Ed, what do you think?
Well, look, 5 million people, 5 million Floridians already voted before today, either through absentee ballot or early voting. I mean, that just blows away anything that we've seen in the midterm election. I mean, people are getting comfortable using alternative ways of voting. That's great. But it's taken the pressure off Election Day. But today, I think we've seen good turnout. So you're looking at somewhere about 7.5 to 8 million votes total in the state of Florida. That would be amazing in a midterm. Doesn't quite get us to a presidential, but it's certainly probably 10 points better than the midterm before.
And, you know, Florida continues to grow as a state, right? The third largest state. The population is bordering almost 20 million, 13 million registered voters, Janine. And the folks, we really need to remember as well, Florida has 67 counties. Right? Not just Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. So you have voters that are there, and independents are going to be the key.
I was just going to say, the X factor, of course, are the independent voters, 3.5 NPAs, no party-affiliated voters. They may swing the tide of this election.
They're going to swing the tide because of those 5 million I told you that voted before today. 1 million of them were either MPA or no party affiliation.
Let's talk about the governor's race.
Big number.
It is. Let's talk about the governor's race, and if we can put up that full screen. We can see who's running. Of course, we know these two gentlemen, Andrew Gilliam, Ron DeSantis. They couldn't be any more differently ideologically. On the surface, they're pretty similar, right? They're young. They have young families. They're both energizing their base of voters, but they couldn't be any more different, and tonight's going to be the night.
They are hugely different. But they've run different types of campaigns, too. Actually, I think Andrew Gilliam has run a pretty good campaign. The ideas, the ideological base where they come from is completely different. But the campaign may end up mattering. I think Gilliam has an advantage with respect to the campaign. But in the end, Republicans have a way of turning out on Election Day, and will that carry the day for DeSantis?
One of the things that we're not really tracking, though, Janine, are the new voters, those newly registered, newly naturalized. These are the voters that polls don't register or even count, right? So we definitely need to be watching the independents tonight. However, we also need to be watching exactly how many Republicans will break to the other side, and how many Democrats will break to the other side as well. Because we only know the total number of registered Democrats, Republicans, and NPA, but we don't know how they voted.
And we were talking about this, I think, in August when we were together, and you were talking about bringing the Democrats to the picnic table together. Can they have a unified message? Can they
Labor Day
present a
picnic,
unified,
yeah.
yes, the Labor Day picnic. So did they have that picnic? Are they presenting a unified front? And if you vote for Andrew Gilliam at the top, are you going to vote down ballot?
The picnic chairman of the Democrats' unification was probably President Trump. And in the same way, President Trump was also a unifying factor amongst Republicans.
He didn't get an invitation, though.
Now, he
because
didn't get an invitation, but he was the honorary chair of the picnic, for sure.
But, you know, I think that Mayor Gilliam, is he Governor Gilliam?
Oh, you're projecting already.
Mayor Gilliam.
Don't
Mayor
count
Gilliam.
your chickens yet.
No chickens. Maybe some turkeys.
Okay.
Mayor Gilliam, after winning that primary, I think really galvanized the energy and the inspiration among Democrats. That's going to be very important because you remember, coming out of 2016, Democrats were in a funk in terms of are they on the same page? I do believe that his campaign has galvanized Democrats more so than I believe Congressman DeSantis's candidacy galvanizing Republicans. The question, when you don't have the White House, you're always looking for somebody to lead and define the party. Florida is a very important state in the presidential, in the 2020. Sure. So what you're seeing, though, is turnout, basically, and enthusiasm from the left part of the Democratic Party, driving enthusiasm. And if, you know, Mayor Gilliam wins, you're likely to have younger voters and those who didn't vote before. Similar to what President Trump experienced in 2016, when the polls didn't capture a lot of those people who may not have said to the poll who they were voting for, but voted for Trump and put him over the top.
And will those voters have that same enthusiasm for Ron DeSantis? Will they come out?
That's a big question.
No,
because
that's
2016 was a different election cycle. I do believe that the mood and the emotion of 2018, as it relates to President Trump and his voters, I think that there's a little bit of difference there, and hopefully he still has strong support. Don't get me wrong.
But I would suggest that the galvanizing force on the Republican side, the coming together of the establishment Republican versus the Trump Republican,
do you think that has galvanized?
Occurred during the Kavanaugh hearings because Republicans felt offended about the way Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh was treated.
I haven't heard much about Kavanaugh, though.
The question is, where does Republican women go? Were they offended one way or another, and do they stick with the party line?
So we had the Labor Day picnic,
That's the
right?
question.
No,
who was invited?
No, it's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, now it's going to be Thanksgiving.
Who's going to make the turkey? Right?
I don't know.
Right,
who's going to be the turkey? I mean, my God. Right?
All right, let's move on to the Senate race, because we're going to check in with our reporters who are covering both DeSantis and Gilliam, because the Senate race has been just a slugfest, and it's been one of the most expensive Senate races in the country. We're talking about Rick Scott. We're talking about Bill Nelson. Let's see them right there. I mean, you know, we've looked at their ads, and if you believe the ads, then you think that Bill Nelson is an empty suit who hasn't done anything and can't do anything, and then you believe that Rick Scott is slick and can't be trusted. I think in the last few days, what we've been seeing from Bill Nelson has been this almost sort of an Adam Putnam Florida first kind of a thing, that he's a fifth-generation Floridian. He knows what's best for Floridians. Rick Scott, just saw him yesterday. He was in Hialeah, and he said he knows what's best for Nancy Pelosi and for the leadership, the Democratic leadership on the Hill. I know what's best for Florida. And so does any of that resonate with Florida voters,
I think
Marlon?
it does. I think this race is going to be one of the tighter races of the night because despite Senator Nelson's record, Governor Scott has done his job in regards to campaigning as well. And he's going to have to work Senator Nelson in order to pull this one off. And thankfully, I believe, because of the galvanizing of the Democratic Party in the base, I think that's going to pull Senator Nelson along.
So there are two factors here. The first factor is the extra voters. If Senator Nelson wins, he needs to send a big Christmas card to Andrew Gilliam.
Absolutely.
Because he generated some enthusiasm, frankly, that Senator Nelson is not capable of generating. And then second, if Rick Scott wins, it's because of the work he's done. I mean, as governor. Look, we now have almost full employment in the state of Florida. There are more people, there are more jobs than people looking for jobs. He did a great job with the recent hurricane. That, again, proves leadership. That is something that, frankly, we haven't seen in 40 years from Bill Nelson.
President Trump, though, doesn't talk about jobs very often. In his rallies, he's gone to campaign for Ron DeSantis and other folks who are running for the Republican ticket all around the country. And he says, well, jobs, that's kind of just a boring thing to talk
To
about.
the detriment of the Republican Party, I do believe that President Trump has fallen off message. He really should take more responsibility for that, I believe.
Because you think that's a good thing President Trump has done, right? Creating jobs and a great atmosphere for business.
I don't debate that.
Okay, that's good.
But
We
he
have some
hasn't
You and I agree.
He
That's
hasn't
great.
been staying on message. with
That's
regards-
great.
with
Well,
regards
that's
to,
a whole
you know,
separate issue, right?
But
Politically.
ultimately, between Senator Nelson and Governor Scott, we're going to see whether or not voters will split the baby. Meaning, Governor Gilliam, Governor Scott,
Right.
and Senator. How many voters do you think are thinking about that as opposed to going down the party line? That's going to be interesting to watch.
Let's
It will
take a
be.
look at some of the early Senate numbers that are coming in. This is, again, 1% reporting. So these are the mail-in ballots and the early votes. And it shows
Okay, we're done.
Rick Scott
We're
ahead.
finished, right?
There you go. We can just follow this whole thing off.
Basting the turkey too soon, my man.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
And this is not a surprise, Ed, because Republicans historically vote early and by mail. They come out.
Actually not. This time, the 5 million that I spoke of, that was a direct split. In fact, Democrats had about 20,000 vote lead between absentees and early over Republicans statewide. That's not unusual, by the way.
But what I do see, though, Janine, is that Democrats, they have a bigger wave. Meaning, both Republicans and Democrats have waves coming into this weekend. I think Democrats are riding a bigger wave, meaning that they're returning more vote-by-mail ballots. They're voting earlier. We will see what happened today from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. as to who wants it more.
Right.
Right, going to the finishing line.
We have some early numbers, too, for the governor's race that we can put up. And again, keep in mind that these are very early numbers. Actually, my producer's telling us the numbers don't look quite right, so they're going to check the math right there. You know, there are other races to talk about as well, and there are some very, very competitive U.S. House races to talk about. District 26, if we can. Oh, here we go. These are the governor races, if we can. Ron DeSantis.
There's
Andrew
military
Gilliam.
overseas ballots coming in, maybe?
Right. Again, these are early. These are vote by mail. Again, only 1% reporting. So Ron DeSantis with a bit very.
Yeah, I
big
mean,
win.
they look the vote differences look similar to the Senate race so far, of this, at least at this small sampling.
Okay, so let's talk about U.S. House. If we can, let's talk about District 26. District 26 is between Carlos Curbelo, Debbie Murkazell-Powell. Carlos Curbelo was a very popular, moderate Republican in that district, which encompasses South Dade, all of the Keys. But he has been in a real serious fight, and one of the issues that he's been hammered on has been health care. These are the two candidates right there.
Tough district for him, Janine, because it leans Democrat. Coming out of 2016, Hillary Clinton won that district, but Carlos has been playing the referee. If you watch his ads, the middle of the road, moderate Republican, taking on the president when he needs to. However, the question is, are Democrats going to be galvanized in this district? This district includes Kendall, the Southwest Florida area, Monroe County. It's a very diverse, multicultural district. This is another race that I believe is going to be closer.
So here's the question. The question is, it was close last time. Congressman Curbelo won. Now, he's done everything possible to reflect the district. I mean, he has been against Trump on certain issues. He's been with the president on certain issues.
Right.
He really does reflect the district, and he's done a great job as a representative. The question